Hello, welcome back to Review Crew. I'm Justin Max.
And I'm Ethan Mermelstein.
And today we're reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League. Here's the trailer.
The bell's been rung. Out in the dark, among the stars, the god is dead.
I had a dream. Almost like a premonition. I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
I need warriors. I'm building an alliance to defend ourselves.
How do you know your team's strong enough? If you can't bring down the charging bull, then don't wave the red cape at it.
You were sent here for a reason. And even if it takes you the rest of your life, find out what that reason is.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to. We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
So, the Snyder Cut has been released on HBO Max. We have seen it.
It's finally here.
It's finally here. We did it. We got it.
We did it. I don't know if we can say that we got it.
No.
But they did it. You know,
They did it.
certainly the fans. The fans made it happen.
Yeah.
And you know, not to speak too soon, but I think I could say we're glad it's here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was a joy to watch. I think we both had a good time watching it.
Great time.
So the original cut of Justice League came out in 2017, famously reshot by Madman, Predator, Awful Man, Joss Whedon. And so Zack Snyder came back and he completed a 4-hour cut of the movie with like a bunch of added scenes and fleshed out characters. And it definitely feels like a more like cohesive product going into, I guess, this next phase of the Snyder DC universe. How do you think they handled the character? Like, were you emotionally attached to any of the characters? How do you think they kind of handled like the Cyborg and Flash introductions?
Well, much needed disclaimer here. I have not seen the original Justice League cut. I've seen the first 15 minutes. That was all I felt like I needed to see at the time. So I can't really, I couldn't really judge the Snyder cut on the merit of how each part was different from the theatrical cut,
Right.
what we saw, or what other people saw.
Sure.
But what I do know is kind of the general reputation of that film, and from what I saw of the first 15 minutes, and just like the character building, this feels much better. It feels more cohesive. The characters feel like they are imbued with personalities in a way that not only, from what I understand, they're not in Justice League, but from what I can confidently say, you know, they're much better developed than they are in like Batman vs Superman, another Snyder movie.
Definitely.
I think this was much better than Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, Batman v Superman is a dark and like gloomy movie about like division, and I guess Zack Snyder came back and he delivered a movie more about unity. I guess there is some light messaging about.
There's an actual plot point called Unity.
The unity.
Right?
I think Right, Steppenwolf, the
Yes.
big
The
CGI,
mother boxes?
the mother boxes.
You know the mother boxes.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like the Justice League Tesseract.
Yeah, they're like
Infinity
these
Stones.
like
They're like Justice League Infinity Stones.
yeah, they're basically like Justice League
Yeah.
Infinity. Steppenwolf needs to like gather all 3 mother boxes in order to harvest this anti-life equation from
Yes.
the core of Earth, because
course.
Earth is the only planet that they cannot conquer during like the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
And so now they're returning to finish the job, and Ben Affleck has to unite all the metahumans. I wish Ben Affleck was given more of like a dominant role in the movie. His Batman, I'm not.
You're not a big fan of?
No, I'm really not. When I first saw Batman v Superman, I was interested and I liked the direction they were taking the Bruce Wayne element, but he's not like intimidating. He doesn't strike me as a really competent Batman. He doesn't have. He just kills. He doesn't feel like he's driven by a code. Batman is like a very code-driven, morally driven man. So I feel like this guy he just kind of kills indiscriminately, and yeah, I guess he tries to redeem himself by uniting the Justice League in this one.
He kills, but also he protects.
He does.
Okay. What I will say about Ben Affleck's Batman, which I will say is certainly not the best Batman I've seen, I really enjoyed his Batman much more in this movie than in Batman vs. Superman. I felt like in that movie, which as you mentioned was very dark, it was all about him brooding, and hating, God, Superman.
Yeah.
In this one, I really liked how he was really characterized as, kind of a guy who has trouble bringing people together, and a guy who has trouble connecting with others. And sure, this may just be, all like subjectivity because the other DC movies, Batman v Superman is just so bad.
Whoa.
No offense to anyone, that movie's not good. But I felt like his character was really imbued with more interesting traits than I found in Batman vs Superman, and I appreciated that.
No, I'm glad. I think they definitely add more depth to his character. He just didn't feel like the leading man of the movie. I feel like he wasn't, I guess, trying to distribute the time pretty evenly against all the heroes. We spend a lot more time with Flash and Cyborg.
Well,
with
yeah,
this
that's
movie.
an interesting. It's interesting that you say leading man
Yes.
because I'd like to ask you, who do you think is the main character of this movie?
I don't think there really is a main character. I think that's a problem. I think that's like maybe one of the core structural problems of the movie. I think Cyborg is very much meant to be the heart of the movie, his arc with his father and just the struggle that he has like finding his own identity after like, he used to be like a student athlete, and he gets into a car accident. I think his mom loses her life, and he's left basically just cut from the shoulders down, and his father.
He has less limbs than he had before.
Yeah, left as far. So he's more Borg than man. More
Yes,
Cyborg than man.
more Borg than man.
Yes, and so his dad takes this major risk, and he uses one of the mother boxes to give him this cyborg body. So I enjoyed his arc. I think some of the writing and some of his acting. I'm not sure the name of the actor who plays Cyborg. Ray Fisher. Acting was a little stiff. I would have liked a little more like nuance, I guess, to his performance. I thought Ezra Miller was pretty hilarious. He had some.
You did.
Kind of cringy.
Interesting.
He had some cringy.
Let's talk about Ezra Miller.
Let's talk about Ezra Miller. Similar to, I don't know. I guess Ezra Miller, the second most problematic person on the Justice League set, next to Joss Whedon, I guess.
True.
Yeah.
I meant more so his performance.
Okay. Yeah. But isn't Ezra Miller kind of
Ezra Miller is
unhinged mentally?
Yeah.
Right.
He seems like a tough hang, just
Yeah.
from like videos and reputation.
Yeah.
Not someone you really like to be
I did
around.
have. Was that in your mind when watching this movie?
Well, I was aware of that.
Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, what I will say, just like off like a surface level, here's what I thought of his performance. I thought that he was really going for the neurotic, quippy, comic relief character.
Right.
And I don't think it worked all that well. I think there were moments that did land, but for me, he came across as more just frenetic and unlikable, as genuinely funny.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments of the movie, and I guess we could talk about some like the needle drops, is that really drawn out to the sequence's benefit, but it's like a drawn out sequence where he like saves Iris, You know, when she's like kind of flipping over in the car and like that song plays. Is that when
pretty neat.
is that when the Nick Cave song plays?
No, that's a
No.
different scene.
Oh.
But it was a neat moment, and I would like to talk more about the music. Let's do that after this break.
So let's talk about the music. We have, you mentioned the Junkie XL score, and then also the Hans Zimmer score makes from Man of Steel makes an appearance during one of the more memorable sequences from the movie. Do you think? Zack Snyder's always been a big fan of complimenting his big images, tapestry-like images with this dramatic music. Do you think it worked to the movie's benefit?
I think it worked more than it did not in this movie. I don't think that. I mean, to be frank, I don't think the entire movie worked per se. But what I do appreciate about the movie, the music in the movie, and the movie as a whole, as I'm sure that you would agree, is that it was uncompromising and that Snyder really leaned into it. And it felt full-on Snyder. And I appreciated that. Like when Aquaman walks in slow motion into the ocean with a Nick Cave song playing, it's a little, crazy, but it's fun. And the score, as you mentioned, the Hans Zimmer, the iconic Hans Zimmer Man of Steel score, it was really genuinely fun to hear that again. And the new Junkie XL score, I liked it.
Me too. I like the new Wonder Woman theme, like those kind of like choir vocals.
Yes.
Those, I think those were actually overdone, like way overdone. I think every time Wonder Woman like made any kind of like action in like an action scene, they would just like put those vocals in the background and. Yeah.
Well, our friend Curtis that we were watching the film with said that the music gave him a panic attack. He was not a fan so much of
There
that.
were some genuinely frightening parts of the movie.
There were
some jump scares. Why
jump
were there
scares.
jump scares in this movie? Parademons are scary, I guess.
Let's talk about, you want to talk about kind of the ensemble as a whole? Kind of the cast?
Sure.
Because what I was just thinking about earlier is that, say whatever you will about Marvel movies, but part of like their enormous success, of course, is their casting. Started with Robert Downey Jr. And then, just the chemistry that Chris Evans, that entire Avengers cast has, is really nowhere to be found in this movie. As fun as this movie is, and as much as I appreciate it, and as much as I think it is an improvement over what I've seen from other DC movies, the performances are not as good, and the chemistry is also not as good. Would you agree with me?
Would you go as far as to say as every single member of the Justice League is miscast? Because that's the conclusion that I think I've come to, starting with Mr. Henry Cavill. I really wish going into this movie, my biggest hope was that they give Superman more of like an emotional arc and give him like more to do. And I feel like he did not get that. I was not impressed with Henry Cavill's, just like his. It's not even his fault. This is really Chris Terrio's fault, the screenwriter of this film.
There's always the question of writing versus performance. An actor can only do so much with the lines that they have, and the lines throughout this movie, a lot of them are not that good. No. There were a few good ones to which we commented and said that was a good line.
Yeah, like the Superman line when he comes in and Steppenwolf kind of swings his axe and he says, "Not impressed." I was impressed by that line. Any lines that come to mind for you?
I'm gonna be honest, Justin. There are no lines from that movie that really stuck in my head. With that being said, I still do think that you're probably right in that most of these characters are miscast. But we would have liked to see them have more to work with, as the Marvel characters do, and the Marvel actors do.
Yeah, and that's something that I rewatched Man of Steel and I rewatched Batman v Superman. I think Man of Steel was written by David S. Goyer, and then he hired Chris Terrio to help him write BVS.
Mr. Terrio.
Mr. Terrio also infamously wrote Rise of Skywalker. It's just it's a real shame because I wish Snyder would surround himself with more nuanced writers, and he would get more story, like better stories out of his characters. I think he can be very caught up with the visuals. Obviously, this movie was shot in the 4:3 aspect ratio. So yeah, Snyder always been a very tactical when it comes to his visuals. I wish he would give as much attention to his writing. Hire a new screenwriting partner.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
But if anything, it does make me look forward to whatever Snyder does next.
Right, and I guess we have to talk about the various TV shows, HBO Max series, whatever you want to call it, that this movie kind of sets up. There's a 20-minute commercial at the end of this movie with featuring Jared Leto's Joker delivering really cringy monologue to Batman. They kind of I feel like they try to retroactively establish that Batman Joker dynamic.
Yes.
Where they probably should have taken a movie to do that. Will you be watching future Snyderverse content if it were to come to HBO Max or even get a theatrical release?
Yes, I think I will. I certainly would not have made that commitment before seeing this movie.
Right.
And even as you said, the quote-unquote commercial at the end, the Joker part is not good. I think Jared Leto's terrible. I really did not like any moment that he was speaking, if I'm being fully honest.
There's something not right with his voice. It
Something's
kind of
not
just
right
sounds
with
like
his
Jared
voice or
Leto.
his dialogue, or his face. It's not very good.
His teeth are really black. I like that.
There you go.
Yep.
No real opinion on his teeth personally.
Okay.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But yes, as I will say, I am looking forward to whatever comes next, and hopefully, like you said, hopefully they'll branch out in terms of the content creators that they choose to attach to this. Are we actually getting this stuff?
Well, I think if this movie does well, and there's a lot of hype going around Snyder's name and the fans of this movie gets streamed a lot. When WB releases the numbers, 50 million people watched Zack Snyder's Justice League in the first week. I think the first thing we'll get is a Cyborg TV show or something. I feel like they'll flesh out his character. I feel like he's the character that the general mass audiences are going to relate to the most and want to see the most from. And then you kind of build around that, building up to the next Justice League event.
Well, the last thing I'll say before we
Yeah.
leave is, as much as we do want, the stories to be fleshed out
Yeah.
and the writing to be better, the best part of this movie was absolutely the visual spectacle and just the spectacle in general. And we definitely would not want to sacrifice that just to have perhaps an unsuccessful, more fleshed out story in place.
Agreed.
Well, that was Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
We recommend that you go check it out.
Oh, for
You
sure.
have 4 hours to spare.
If you have 4 hours to spare,
Quick and easy watch.
quick and easy watch. What would you rate this movie out of 10?
I give this movie a decent 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I think, generally positive for sure.
Yes, I liked
Right?
it.
Yeah.
That's all for this week. If you want to follow more Review Crew content, go to the Review Crew Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, as well as Orange TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube.
And also find the Review Q's podcast on Spotify or on our website at orangetvnetwork.syr.edu, where you can also find our blog and more OTN information. See you next week.